the circuits here are notoriously difficult to learn. Sometimes I feel bad that I'm not winning because this team's had so much success in the past. It's one of those tracks where it's like visible. It's visible who's fast. You can just see how committed they are. I'd love to get a win at some stage. That's one thing. If I can come into next year and sort of be confident that I can definitely be a front runner in Supersport, that would be unreal.
Let's carry on. This is Brands Hatch. We're in the Macadam racing truck, and I'm delighted to say Australia's finest, Tom Toparis. Mate, welcome to Off Track. How are you?
Thank you, mate. Yeah, cheers. Very good, actually. It's been a bit of an up and down weekend. Well, obviously, we've had a bit of rain yesterday, so still like finding my feet a little bit. But yeah, overall, I'm happy with how I ended up yesterday in 9th. It's obviously coming to England. The level in the rain is quite high. Obviously, you guys get a lot of rain, so I feel like I'm still just kind of building in the wet to sort of, without crashing, trying to make steps with the bike. We haven't done a lot of wet riding this year, although testing was all wet. We didn't really go out because it was so cold. So, yeah, it's like happy enough with yesterday, and we've got dry conditions now, so I'm looking forward to this afternoon.
So coming over from Australia into the Bennett's British Superbike Championship in the Supersport class with Macadam Racing.
Yeah.
How did it all start? How did you end up here?
Well, I actually did a bit of racing here in 2020 in the COVID year. We were supposed to go, my Benro racing team, who I was with, the Dutch guys, we were supposed to go and race in like the European Supersport Cup. And obviously COVID hit and yeah, everything shit at the fan. And unfortunately that kind of got hit on the head. But Higgsy sort of gave us an opportunity to come over here and do the 6 rounds in 12 weeks. And that was awesome for me because I was over here anyway. I was locked out of Australia. I had to do the hotel stuff to get back. And I was, lucky enough to come over here, do the first round at Donington. And I think like first race, I was like 4th or 5th or something like that. And then unfortunately crashed and broke my wrist in the second race. So I was kind of stuck over here, broken wrist in a short condensed season. I didn't get to do all those rounds. I think I missed like 4 of the 6 rounds. So I came back and did the last round here actually. So I had been here before previous to this weekend. But yeah, so that's how I first came to BSB. Obviously I did a wildcard in 2019 with those guys as well at Assen. And I was with Jack Kennedy. I was second behind Jack, and Kyle Ride, which was good. That was my first BSB experience. So yeah, really cool to, like, I obviously love the championship from the beginning. And I think as an Aussie, it's a good place to come and race because people are the same. Obviously everything's quite similar. The level of racing here is a lot probably higher, I'd say, than Australia. Not I wouldn't say the level's higher. It's just the depth of field's a lot bigger. The championship's a lot sort of got a lot more backing behind it and stuff like that. So yeah, obviously this is where you want to be if you're an Aussie racing in superbikes. So yeah, like I came over last year. I should say first, I had an operation at the beginning of 2021. I had to have my arm grown. I had a shortened, my upper humerus was short. I had a crash when I was a kid and broke my growth plate in my upper humerus, and this arm actually stopped growing from when I was 11. So I took the opportunity last year to have a telescopic rod put in my arm, and they extended the bone and grew it 70 mil back. So now they're the same. They're 70 mil. Yeah, so it was actually 76 mil. So they're back. They're the same length now.
That's incredible.
Yeah. But that the only downside was that I had to have probably a year and a half out. So yeah, good to come back from that. And I came and rode the Triumph last year for Astro. Last year I did 2 rounds. I did Cadwell and Snet, and that was really good for me to come back over here. Unfortunately, my arm was still a little bit like tender, a bit fresh, but yeah, still great to come over here, be back in the paddock. And I think that's how I ended up obviously getting this ride here at Macadam Racing. So yeah, I was lucky enough I knew Gary, our data man previously, and at Brands last year, he sort of said to me, "Are you interested in coming back next year?" I'm like, "Yeah, I definitely want to," depending on how my arm was. And yeah, lucky enough to get the gig to come over and met the team, met Dave and everyone and Alex, and yeah, like stoked to come back and be living over here this year and racing again in BSB.
Joining the team and coming in this season, you've already had some really, really super strong results. And I think it's thrown you into the limelight a little bit with the fans and with the series, with the results you've had so far.
Yeah, there's been definitely some good little results in there, which is like obviously what I came here for. So I still think there's been times where I wish I got a little bit more out of it, and it's hard because I'm still fresh over here. Like I've come over here in dribs and drabs and done the one-off round on new bikes and stuff like that. But this has been my first opportunity on a bike that I know I've ridden the R6 a bit in the past. So yeah, my first full season, full crack at it, with testing and everything like that. So still learning. I think some of the circuits, it's a weird one because the circuits here are notoriously difficult to learn. So I expect, and I think obviously running for a very good team, we expect to be at the front. And sometimes I feel bad that I'm not winning because this team's had so much success in the past. But at the same time, it's like I'm just trying to get as much out of it without crashing and without making mistakes. So I think we're building into it. I'm looking forward to the second half of the year because we've come into the first half, it's like probably half the tracks I had never been to before. So going around again, like we go back to the same tracks again. Looking forward to going back there, starting the weekend with the data from the previous round and hopefully being, where we finished from the start. Whereas I feel like every track we've gone to so far this year, I've been getting, like, as the weekend goes on, I'm taking a second or 0.7 out every session. And by the time you get to the race, you're still learning. Whereas I know that some of the guys here that have been here for season upon season, they're just sort of there. I know what it's like in Australia when you've raced for years. You're like already there from the beginning of the weekend. So just like a bit of a lack of experience. I think I'll obviously get that experience if I stay here long enough. And just looking forward to the second half of the season.
How cool has it been part of the Yamaha family as well? And I know after conversations yesterday with a few guys that there are eyes on Tom Toparis. there are people keeping an eye on your progress with how things are going through. So how important is it to be within the Yamaha family as well?
Yeah, it's great being in the Yamaha family. Like I've ridden Yamahas for probably the last 5 or 6 years. So to come to the UK and being like probably the main Yamaha squad in 600, it's really cool. And just the whole thing, like even like the hospitality, going up there and having dinner with all the guys, it's just such a cool thing. And I've never had that before. So yeah, I do. I love my team. I love all the guys in my team. We all get along so well. And that was the thing from the start. I think that's the good thing about Aussies and Brits. It's like, for me, we just like gelled straight away, which was really good. I knew Gary previously, but all the other guys are new to me. Oh, and Tim, also my mechanic. But got along with everyone straight away. And all the guys at Yamaha have been great. Like it's such a great like little community. I don't know, Yamaha's always strong in every category all over the world. So yeah, definitely in Britain it's strong. And I like our presentation as a team and everything like that. It's so professional. Like it's such a great like run setup. So yeah, just really happy to be part of it.
They know what they're doing, don't they? They've got so
definitely.
much experience, so much information on the tracks from years gone by. And the one thing I also like as we sit back and we see you at lunch and we see you at dinner up in hospitality is the mix that they've got in the team of the older experienced mechanics.
Yeah.
And then you've got Brad Woodage, Mark Woodage's son, learning his way in the paddock as well.
Yeah.
So you've got that little bit of youth on the side as well.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. Like Brad's come in this year. And obviously like there's Tim, Alex, Andy, Gary, all the guys, Rich and Dave and all that. So they've all been there. Well, some of them have been here for years and years and years. Like before I was even racing motor, like before I even knew what BSB was. To then have Brad in. It's good to have someone young as well. Like we get along and we hang out away from the track and stuff like that too, which is cool. It's just like a great little squad. And I'm just that like I said earlier, like I feel bad that I'm not winning week in, week out. I'm not like on the box week in, week out. Then again, like you've got to be realistic, and I am realistic in when I get a fourth, it's like, that's not too bad. Especially when it's a new track, like I'm pretty happy with that. But at the same time, I think the second half of the year and if hopefully moving on to next season, I can be like definitely on the box fighting for wins every weekend. So that's the plan.
I like how you're managing expectation. Because you want to come over here and do your best. You want to fly the Aussie flag at the top of the podium, but it's going to come. But this is just when you're going against Tom Boudin-Marsh, you're going against Luke Stapleford. These guys are so experienced around these circuits.
Definitely, yeah.
And especially Luke.
For sure.
Do you get a bit of support and a bit of encouragement from Jack Kennedy as well?
Yeah, I do, and that's the great thing about our team is that we've had so many good riders in the past, and like Gary's got all the data from all of them every session for the last 5 or 6 years or whatever. So every now and then I was talking to Jack and he said, look at what he's doing here at Sned in turn 5 or whatever, and it's like it's so good to have that sort of support. And I've never had that before. Like in Australia, when I stopped racing, in 2020, we weren't even allowed to have potentiometers. We weren't allowed to have any data. Like that was just a cost cap rule. So to come over here and then have this, that's another thing that's kind of still new to me. Like I can read data and I understand how I'm learning a lot about how it all works and stuff like that. But it's still new to me. So yeah, to be able to go and see Rory Skinner or Brad Jones or Jack Kennedy or any of those guys that have been in this team before and pinpoint. And basically for me, it's just, I've got to replicate what they're doing. So it's a great tool to have. And Gary's really good at explaining it to me. So yeah, that's what, again, like I said, I'm looking forward to going to the second half of the year, just having that little bit more experience on the tracks and just sort of what to do with the bike in like even tracks like Brands, like up like turn one or clearways. It's just like when the track's dropping away and the cam is changing and stuff like that. It's just something that I'm so not used to coming from Australia. Our tracks are like they're some of them are quite difficult, but they're not quirky like the tracks here. Like we're talking about turn one, how the bike G's out. Cadwell where there's a jump, or Alton where you're kind of like riding through the bushes, like feel like you're racing Isle of Man. It's all just, sometimes it's crazy, and then you add the rain into it, which is another thing that in Australia I don't even remember the last time I had a wet race in Australia. It would have been like 4 or 5 years ago. So then to come over here and it hasn't rained so like as much this year as probably as I expected.
The last couple of seasons, I think we've been quite blessed with dry races, haven't we? But yesterday was just sideways, wind, everything. We were sat up at the top there, undercover, and I'm like, oh no. Just, I thought they might have thrown the flag for the whole day.
Yeah, we heard something. They did say that might happen, yeah.
But then you boys go out and you're teetering around. And I mean, what is it like sat on an R6, on the Macadam Yamaha R6, round Brands Hatch when the rain's coming in sideways and wind's trying to blow you off circuit?
Oh, it's kind of a crazy feeling. Like when I was 5th on the grid yesterday from a dry qualifying, which I was looking forward to the dry because I finally made a step in qualifying. So I was looking forward to starting 5th. I had Ben Curry beside me and then like Richard Cooper on the other side and like TBA in front of me and Luke Stapleford on pole. So it's like, for me, it's like a bit, it's cool because I feel like I'm getting to the stage where I'm kind of been able to be with those guys, and like, it's kind of a hard one because like we were talking about expectations before. I am still fresh in this paddock, definitely, and I'm still inexperienced, I would say, compared to those guys. Like I only really started racing when I was 16, racing road bikes when I was 16. So I still feel like I'm taking in as much information as I can. But yeah, when it's dry, I was looking forward to the dry. It started pissing down rain and yeah, boots are soaking wet before you even start and stuff like that. It's something, I don't think I've ever been as wet, physically wet in my suit and stuff as I was yesterday. I was like I jumped in a pool. But yeah, to sort of like expectations in the rain again are another expectation where I've got to be like, even there's going to be guys here who come past. It's just what's going to happen. There's guys that have raced over here forever in the rain and they're just more comfortable than I am, and that's just how it is at the moment. So yeah, to kind of be in, at least I was in the ballpark, so I wasn't like 4 or 5 seconds off the pace, which is what happened at Alton Park when I was just kind of trying not to crash. So I think yesterday to be kind of in the game, and then today we're starting, I think like 3rd or 4th row, somewhere, but like it's not ideal, but I'm hoping with the sun out I can come forward a little bit.
As far as I'm aware, there's no rain today. It's just going to be a little bit breezy, but once you get through in the trees at the back, it's not going to be too bad.
Yeah.
Starting racing so late, as you said, in terms of modern racing standards, that's you're probably 10 years later than a lot of the other ones. What did you do before that?
Well, I've ridden motocross since I was probably about 4 or 5, like most guys, but at the time in Australia the rule was, I think it was an insurance reason, that there was no real road racing until you are 16. You have to pretty much be 16. In 2016 was when I first got a bike, started doing some track days, and then I went to do the first round of the championship, but I had to be 16 and it was before May, so I actually missed the first round of the season, which is just the way it was. And then unfortunately the next year they lowered the age to 13, so now I think it's like 11 or 10 now, so I sort of missed the boat there a little bit in the start. But like I've always ridden motocross bikes and stuff, so it's not like I've never seen a motorbike before. Like I've definitely been in around bikes sort of my whole life, but yeah, to come to road racing and racing Aussie superbikes on 300s and then 600, and then I raced in Germany in the IDM in 2019 with Benray Racing, which was my first sort of full season overseas. I've done little wild cards and stuff here and there, but first full season overseas. And then that's how I led to BSB, and like this is probably the paddock to be. And I think obviously you see the amount of people that come to race weekends here, and you just walk up and down pit lane and you can see the sort of how big this championship is. It's, if you compare it to Australia, it's like our version of V8 supercars. Like it's just backing, and I don't know, people just like it. It's entertaining racing. So I think looking forwards, this is where I want to be in the future, for the rest of hopefully my career. If I can, I'm over here this year. If I can stay over here and be like Brooksy or Jason O'Halloran and put in a good 15 or 20 years over here and make a career out of it, that would be ideal.
I think that would be fantastic. Are you noticing there's more and more, because the fans here are so knowledgeable?
Yeah.
Nothing passes them by.
Yeah.
Are you notice that more and more people are stopping to say hello on pit walk and things like
Definitely.
that? There's more signatures going through, and the word of Tom Toparis is getting out of it.
Yeah, it's actually crazy how many people you meet. Like, you come to this championship and just again comparing it to back home, it seems so big, but you meet, like I even this year I would have met so many people that, like, walking down pit lane and you're like, oh hey, what's going on? You have a quick chat with them and stuff like that. But like, we do the pit lane walks, and you see people who actually, that's the strength of, I think, racing in the UK, is it's quite a small country geographically, so there's people that go to a lot of the rounds, which is, it's such a good thing. Whereas in Australia, you might make a round every year, but the next round's 10 hours away. So
it's a 6-hour flight.
Yeah, it's
like
crazy stuff. So it's good to see that, like, people actually get so into it and follow it. And met a lot of people who follow it and enjoy it. And like you said, they know ins and outs. And like, met guys yesterday that were telling me about, like, when Bayless was racing over here, and they were back in the day. And just, it's great hearing stories. And I just like chatting to people. And just, it's cool just when someone comes up like, oh hey, I'm from Australia or whatever, and it's like cool to see other people that come from all over the place to be over here. So it's definitely, like I said, it's an awesome championship. I love the level here, and like, hopefully can stay here for years to come.
Troy Bayless was racing here before you were born.
Yeah, I know. I was watching his races I was watching the championship
98, 99.
98 when he won.
99 he won it.
He won it. And I watched the Donington race with John Reynolds and who was it? Chris Walker. Yeah. So I was watching that the other day. But
it was even colour TV as well. It wasn't even in black and white.
It was definitely like, he's someone that I sort of always been around. In Australia, I rode for the team that he was involved in Desmond Sport Ducati and Cube Racing. So I was always, like, had him there, always my teammate on the class below me usually. So I know those guys really well, and he always helped me like I said, I was 16, so everything he'd always be like, oh, like this corner here. So when I came over to Donington, he'd be like, oh, McLean's, don't come too far to the left before you go right. It's little things like that. He always helps me out, which is really cool. And whenever he said something, you always listen, because he's such a successful, like, knowledgeable guy. So cool to have, because even other guys from Australia, they're always like looking to help out. Brooksy's really helpful. It's definitely cool, even in BSB, to have like a little Australian. It's weird that all the Aussies like look out for each other, which I like. I always chat to them, and like Billy and stuff like that. So it's definitely a cool place to be.
We've always had that rich vein of Aussie form in the British Superbike Championship. With, as you said, Brooksy, Jason, go back to Glenn Richards, who was here for an awful long time. Bilby, they're all great characters, and it's nice to see the Aussie form hopefully carry on.
Definitely.
For however many years to come, because we need it in the championship.
Well, Glenn's a big one for me, because Glenn's the reason I came over last year. I was, like I said, with my arm, I was out for a year and a half, and then one day he just rang me up. This was about this time last year, and he's like, "What are you doing? Are you been riding?" I'm like, "Oh, not really. Like, I haven't." It was middle of winter in Australia. It's freezing cold where I live, and he'd be like, "Oh," he said, "Well, Stu Tromans has asked me if you want to come over and ride the Triumph," and I was like, "Mate, why not? I'm sitting at home with, like, on the tools. I'm a carpenter back home, so on the tools, why not come over here for a couple of months and have a crack at BSB again?" Which is that's what's really led to where I am here today. So really grateful that Glenn's sort of always there, like, helping me out. Even back in Australia, sometimes he comes helps me at the track, which is really good. But he's another guy that's like he's been around here forever and raced for however many years and made a good living, like made a good career over here. So there's guys like that, they pop up all the time that have been over in BSB, and that's why I think for me it's like a realistic place to sort of see yourself. Like everyone's like, oh, I want to go watch Superbike MotoGP, but BSB is probably realistic if you can get on a Superbike here for the next 10 years or whatever, and be like a solid guy like Brooksy or Jason at the front. That's really what I want to do.
So much exposure here as well, and the series is so popular back home as well.
Yeah.
So, and you obviously Ben Curry in the same class as you
definitely.
as well as the Aussie who's co-host on the podcast.
Yeah.
As often as we can, because you guys are all busy and racing and everything else. But it's always good to have that Aussie side of things. What track have you enjoyed the most while you've been over here so far? Yeah,
I really like Silverstone. Just it's such a fast, flowy track. It suited our bike. I'd never been there before, but it sort of obviously isn't that hard of a track to learn. I like Silverstone. I like Donington. I've been to Donington before in 2020. And I just like the flow of that track. It's really good. So, and the new surface there was unreal, like on new tyres there. That was such a good experience. So looking forward to going back there later in the year. And then again, I went to Cadwell last year on the Triumph, but I did a track day there a couple of weeks ago on our stock 600 just to like throw it around for the day. And I had so much fun, just kind of like finally starting to click with it a little bit, because it's one of the tracks that's for someone coming from abroad. It's so different, isn't it? It's just like skinny. There's a jump in it, like hall bends and stuff. It's just something that you wouldn't ever really get anywhere else, I don't think. So for me to do more time there, that would be my 4th day there now. After the meeting last year, I really did start to like it, and I'm looking forward to going there on the R6 because it's quite a nimble little bike, and I just enjoyed the feel. Even the jump itself, it's quite like daunting in the beginning, but you can sort of get used to it, don't you? So yeah, looking forward to going there on the bank holiday weekend.
Have you watched Brooksy over there?
Yeah, plenty of times.
You've seen, I don't know anything about racing a motorcycle. Okay, this is why I talk about it. You guys ride it, I talk about it. Those that can do, those that don't, sit here and talk about it. But you watch Brooksy at the bottom of the mountain, and the same with Danny Buchan, anybody that gets the good launch over the top, depending on how you want to do it. They are so far over to the left before they throw it into that right-hander so they can line it up and keep to that right-hand side.
Yeah.
And just to get that throw on it. It's just... There's so many places at Cadwell, and these are the little nuances that you learn about the circuit. And if you're following somebody, and you'll see where the white line is, but there's still 4 inches of tarmac the other side of that white line. So you can open the corners, like the entry to Hall Bends or the entry into Barn. There's still, with you know, that still opens up the corner a little bit, doesn't it? The other side of the white line.
You watched Brad Ray's quali lap last year. I was watching it the other day, and like he's literally line to line, which is I think that's just, he's so confident. You got so much experience there, and you just know exactly where to put the wheels. Like into Hall Bends, they're doing them like jumping the mountain, coming across before they head right, stuff like that. The video of Brooksy on the HM Plant Honda back in the day, that's probably the best one of the mountain, I reckon, where he like comes around the corner before, and he's like right over the line, and he just like preloads and just jumps like it's crazy.
He's just throwing it into that dip, and to get that spring just to push him forward.
Every time I tell someone that there's a jump in the calendar, like I show them that video pretty much, and they're like, "Oh mate, it's crazy, isn't it? It's pretty wild." But
as the viewers and the listeners know, that's my home circuit. That's the track I first went to when I was 5 years old. I got such an affinity to that place.
Yeah.
But it is so tight, so nadgery, so it does sort the men from the boys a little bit, and you do have to know those little extra pieces that you get.
Yeah.
So working with the riders over the years, and you stand at the top of where the cafe is, and you can physically see the riders who use the most circuit. When you're going into Hall Bends, going through there it's just ridiculous.
It's one of those tracks where it's like visible. It's visible who's fast. You can just see how committed they are. It's like commitment, like reward, and like risk and reward, isn't it? Really?
It is, yeah, it's that. And you stand there going like,
yeah, shit. Yeah.
This is what I've got to do to be able to make this work.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Exactly.
So, for the future, going forward through the season, when we finish the season back here in 3 months' time, 4 months' time, whatever it is, and you look back, what's going to give you the most satisfaction?
Well, I just want to be making improvements as the year goes on. Like again, learning the tracks this first half of the season. Second half of the season, I want to be on the box every week if I can, and be fighting with the guys at the front. Championship wise, I think I'm like 30 off, or maybe a bit more after yesterday. But if I can sort of just stay in the hunt, not do anything stupid, I'm sort of pissed at myself. I had a crash at Snet. That cost me a bit, but just a like tiny tuck the front of turn 2. Little mistake, but just need to minimise those mistakes. And I think if I can get to here at the end of the year and look back and have a few more podiums under my belt, I'd love to get a win at some stage. That's one thing that Ben and I are still yet to do. The rest of the guys have still sort of had a win each. I'd love to get a win before the end of the year if possible. But yeah, again, if I can sort of just be solid enough to come into next season and hope that I can fight for the championships properly, that's what I want to sort of see myself doing. This is always kind of a development year in a way. It's hard to come into BSB and win in your first year. But yeah, if I can come into next year and sort of be confident that I can definitely be a front runner in Supersport, that would be unreal.
I think you've already made your mark this season and proven that this season you're already a contender for regular top 6, top 5 places and pushing for the podium. But next season, to take that next step against the likes of TBA and Luke and Ben and the rest of it, there's such a strong depth of field there as well. And with the change of regulations as well, there've been new people coming into the class, I think, with the loss of stock 6, and there's gonna be a whole different feeling to next season.
Definitely.
2 questions to finish off with that we always finish off with new guests on the show. First question, what's your favorite corner and why?
In the world or in BSB?
That you've ever ridden? Anywhere?
I'd probably say the last corner at Phillip Island is unreal. Just like so much camber. You're like clicking from 4th to 5th, flat outside of the tyre. I'd probably say, probably there, or maybe Assen on the back straight. I think after the long sweeper, there's like that real fast kink where it drops down. I don't know what it's called. They're my 2 favourite corners.
Rams, Hoghider?
Yeah, Hoghider maybe.
Hoghider, yeah.
So
before you come into the left and then through the chicanes finish.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a little kink and it dips away and slide, and it's unreal when you pin.
And then Rams Hook after that.
Yeah, that's the fast.
Yeah, that's fast left before you go through into the chicane.
Yeah, I'd say that they're my 2 favourite tracks in the world so far, I'd say. But yeah, definitely last corner at Phillip Island is pretty hard to beat.
You like corner speed, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
I can tell.
Yeah, whenever you can sort of like get it, you don't have to stop too much. You can just like get it turned in and open the throttle in like 4th or 5th gear. That's what I love. That's why I'm looking forward to getting onto a bigger bike. In a way, just because I'm quite big and I'm not quite big. I'm quite tall, and I do love like leaning off and just open the throttle and you got new tires on and you're hooked up. I love that.
Just let it run.
Yeah, that's what I love doing. Definitely.
Thruxton next up.
Yeah, Thruxton. I know that. Everyone's been saying, "Oh, you like Thruxton." I've never been there. I've never really seen it, but you can't get track days there. But
for your riding style, you are going to absolutely love that. Just look after the tires.
Yeah,
because it chews them up for it. Just it's a difficult place for tire management, but for fun and for riders coming back in with a big grin on their face. Yeah. Everybody loves it. It's such a great place. And the last one, with you being quite young, I don't know if you kind of have one, but we ask anyway. What's your best hire car story?
Oh, I am under. I can't get a hire car. I've been trying to get a car over here. No one will give one to me. I'm under 25, but I don't know. I've seen some people do some pretty bad stuff with hire cars, bad burnouts and race fuel in them and stuff like that.
That's a new one. Putting race fuel in them.
Yeah,
I've not had of all of the episodes we've done of this show. Race fuel's a new one.
I have seen that end of a MotoGP weekend and World Superbike weekend in Australia for the flyaways. They never take anything back with them, so they always leave fuel and oil. And I've seen guys like pour, I guess it's 102, ELF 102 straight into a hire car and on the limiter and burnouts. We have a race in Australia at Wakefield Park every year, and I don't know if you know Troy Herfoss. Have you heard of Troy Herfoss? He races superbikes. His family live literally over the hill. So at the end of the year, every year we have a big party there. And a couple of years ago now, he'd always have cars there. I don't know if they ever actually did it with the hire car. I think they were pretty close to doing it. There were hire cars driving around, but they'd have cars there that by the end of the night, we'd have a little racetrack in the dirt.
And banger racing.
And then by the end of the night, they'd be all either in the dam, rolled over, or on fire. Every single end of the night, would be everyone was pissed, and everyone would just be right, it's done, light on fire, and there'd just be fireballs in the paddock. So, yeah,
Super.
Do
I think
love
somebody
that.
else we're going to mention as well that I didn't mention it when we reel them all off is Josh Waters as well.
Yeah, Josh Waters.
When Josh came across and he had a great time over here.
Definitely.
Didn't quite work out for him, but
Yeah.
super talented guy.
Definitely. He's still going in Australia.
He's
still
going very
winning.
well.
He's still winning. He's on the V4 now. So he's definitely clicked the start of the year. He won pretty much everything in Australia, Phillip Island and Eastern Creek. And yeah, like he's another one. I know him quite well. We have like a really good mutual friend, Mark Kyoto. And yeah, so I've always watched, like seen the stuff of him back in the day. And then he won at Assen in the rain, I think. I don't know what year that was. But
second here, I think,
Yeah.
and a wet one as well, behind Lee Costello.
yeah, he's definitely like one of the really smooth riders. Even like we'd go to like our support race at World Superbike was Aussie Superbikes, and in the rain it's like unreal. He's just
So
such
smooth.
a good dirt tracker. Him from Mildura, so he's from where all the speedway guys are all from, and I guess he's just grown up on the Salt Lakes, like sliding bikes, and one of the best dirt trackers in Australia. So yeah, he's unreal in the rain. He's unreal in the dry as well. So yeah, it's a shame he couldn't have stayed over here for longer. I think I don't really know the ins and outs, but I think it got to a period where he didn't really have a solid enough ride to stay over here, and then he went back to Australia in like 2016 or 17 and was winning there straight away again. So
He could always ride.
yeah,
There was
definitely.
never any question about that.
Yeah, that's for
at
sure.
all.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mildura, the Speedway, Lemo, he's from that neck of the woods, and
yeah,
all the
definitely.
Speedway boys. We love Speedway, but that's a whole other
Yeah,
podcast.
I do love speedway too. I've been like while I've been in the UK, made it my mission to go and see as much as I can, and I've been up to like Bellevue.
You've been up to about brilliant.
Yeah, with like Max Frick last year, and
Love
yeah,
that
I know
place.
this Aussie Speedway is quite big, so as you know, so yeah, I'd like to soak it in while I'm here and go and see. I've always seen the club racing, club speedway stuff, and in Australia, in the middle of the night when there's nothing on TV, you can definitely go to the sport channels and they're always playing speedway and stuff like that. So I've always
Brilliant.
kind of kept an eye on
Such
it.
a great spot. Do you speak to Shannon as well?
Yeah, Shane Etheridge, yeah,
Shane Etheridge,
definitely, yeah.
what a guy.
His brother's racing here too, so he's really good, and yeah, working for Kyle this year, they're doing a great job. So yeah, it's like again another Aussie guy.
We seem to attract Aussie.
Yeah,
We love hanging out with the Aussie. We know Shannon well and Reggie, his brother, and it's just so good to have you guys over here. We've done at times getting on. It's Jennifer. What time is it? It's 11 already, so you need to start getting
all
this
good.
pit walk and everything else. Tom, thank you
Yeah,
so much
no
for your time,
worries.
mate.
All
Thoroughly
good.
enjoyed this.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
mate. Best
Cheers.
of luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks a lot.
Let's do this again sometime.
Will do for sure. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant. You're welcome,
Cheers.
mate. Cheers.